Gretchen, Tobin, thank you so much for carving out some time so that we can dive a little deeper into your expertise. I'm looking forward to hearing more of your insight about virtual events. So, a couple of questions for us to jump into. I know that these are really going to be helpful for our attendees. So, first question. Right now, obviously, we're living in this pandemic, right? Many associations are moving their in-person events to virtual this year. So my first question is, what would be your top tips for making the most of a virtual event that was supposed to be in person before the pandemic happened?
So I think the most important thing is not trying to cover everything that you would have done in an in-person event and force it into the virtual format. I think it doesn't feel authentic. People don't like it. And so I think you need to figure out the things that are going to translate well into a virtual event and then add more features that are unique to virtual and drop the things that just won't come over.
You're absolutely right, Gretchen. Don't boil the ocean. And one thing to also keep in mind is when you move to a virtual event, you are unbound. Your experience is unbound from time and place. So you don't necessarily have to have 3 8-day or 3 8-hour sessions in a row. The marathons are not very conducive because, as they say, the mind can absorb what the back end can endure. So It's important that you give people space to let the content wash over them. That's important.
Yeah, that's a really great point, especially because we're a little bit on information overload right now. Everybody is so connected to their devices. So expecting them to stay engaged for a full 8-hour event might be a tall order.
Right. We would all be Zoombies.
Very funny. And I think that's the other thing that we've learned a lot is, Zoom fatigue is real. Yeah. And the other tip that I would say is so important is Tracy King really brought this out in another event with Association Forum, which is create screen breaks and be very intentional about the timing. So again, someone might be able to sit through a 3-hour workshop because it has natural movement. You can read in a person's entire body language. But in a virtual event, you're trapped in this screen, and the long gaze is exhausting. And so I think the other thing I've seen is successful virtual events breaks up the content into lecture, interaction, true screen break time. And then this week at the ASA annual meeting, they have like fun things that go anywhere from 2 to 45 minutes. So like yoga is 30 minutes. How to make a perfect margarita is 2 minutes. And so I think sprinkling those things in also gives your brain just time to rest.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. So top tips, we're saying make it interactive, make it fun.
Yep.
Let's not make it 8 to 10 hours.
No.
If anybody's making it 10 hours, I will not be showing up for that one.
That's right.
Right. And it sounds like you're also saying a little bit of like micro burst learning. So again,
absolutely
longer sessions, but shorter, more compact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the last thing I would say is capitalize on chat and video breakouts. So I think speakers feel better when they can prepare their session in advance and it's pre-recorded. That frees them up to augment with live chat or a moderator helping them. But people, that is something that I didn't expect to be so powerful. And people really build on each other's ideas, like the yes and theory has been so cool in chat. And then platforms that allow you to say, hey, Karen, can we just like have a quick sidebar and allow you to quickly go into a quick video chat, I think is something that people have really appreciated.
Yes.
And it's like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully this will prove to be a springboard for a much fuller and richer discussion to follow. No pressure.
But absolutely, you are so right. I've noticed that the chat can be very dynamic, and that's where people feel less alone, right? They may be sitting alone in their house or even their office space, but the chat helps them to connect. And so actually on that note, what would you say associations could do to kind of capture that networking and the social aspects of events in a digital environment?
That is the hardest thing to do. And there's no easy answer. I think we're seeing like some virtual reality people are playing around with, lots of Zoom happy hours and coffee breaks. I think this is a place where using AI might be helpful, where in the past, you would have a lot of questions. Are you a buyer? Are you a decision maker in the registration? And some people would just say, I'm not answering that because I don't want to be marketed to death.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good opportunity to say, in order to help you find your people, tell us more about you,
Yes.
and then we'll help with some matching. And I've seen that to be an interesting phenomenon too, where that could really be a good tool instead of just getting lots of emails. It's actually helping you within the experience find some new people or find your buddies.
Well, and it's also largely dependent on the culture of your membership, your constituents,
Right.
because it's somewhere on that continuum to the head-on content-driven collaboration, which is like, I'm interested in this, you're interested in this, let the content drive that collaboration and networking, to on the other end, the whimsical, the margarita while you're doing goat yoga. You know what I mean? Or I heard one group had a virtual bus ride. You know how you always want something you would never, we're going to the event. So like 10 minutes, and you're sitting next to Gretchen. It's like, you in Columbus, so like that kind of thing could work, but it doesn't work for everything. So the thing is this is all about intentionality. Know your audience, know what your desired results are, and let that drive your decisions in terms of both technology and format.
That's a great idea. It's a good point.
And the other thing you have to figure out is what problem are you really trying to solve for, and what is the thing that people are struggling with the most, and don't guess, and I think the other thing is just doing some prep and some dry runs to say, even though I have a personal learning style, Tobin has one, you have one, people are very different. And so I think it's really important to try things. We've had a lot of our clients have really small focused virtual meetings, and they learn and adjust and learn and adjust. One of the major things I've learned with ASAE's annual meeting is it's so large and the chat is blowing up. So it's so hard to follow. When you have an event that's more personal with less than 500 people, you can kind of follow it and you see the people and you're like, oh, this is fun. When it's 1,000 people in a chat, that gets a little overwhelming. So again, I think just this test and refine and keep your members really close to you at this time is critical, instead of just, staff doing a lot of research and work with the best of intentions, and then they give it to their members as a gift. I think this is a time where members and customers have to be part of that experience of planning.
Absolutely. I just feel like every challenge is an opportunity to be creative,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so I know it's a little bit of the growth mindset speaking. So
Good.
That's okay. My middle name is Pollyanna. Don't worry.
We are kindred spirits then, Tobin. That is for sure. And what I enjoy seeing right now is people are really being creative during this challenging time. I don't know.
Finally.
Exactly. I don't know.
Nothing forces creativity more than need.
That is so true. That is so true. I don't know if you all are sports fans or not, but I am a basketball fan. And so I was interested to see how they were going to create an engaging, fun environment for the NBA players. And I will say that I was highly impressed that they have their friends and family and even pets sitting in the stands.
I know, it's cool, right?
Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
So I love to see it. So my question to you would be, what do you think is next in digital event technology? Like, what new features are starting to get you excited?
Associations follow the curve, by a few years, but a lot of people are talking about VR and gaming finally coming into business. So I do think that the gaming industry has really perfected that in-person experience. A lot of co-creation is happening in gaming, right? Everyone's in the world, they join, and I think they've done a really good job figuring that out. We have to translate that into business. We've already seen it in the medical community, where there's been a lot of virtual reality training for surgeons or, highly skilled technical people that are using VR tools to really hone your craft. And I think that is ready to break through.
Yeah.
And then I just think the use of apps, right? Everyone brings their own favorite thing into the mix instead of having to just be prescribed of what the association gives you. I think there's a lot more that individuals can bring.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you mentioned earlier, Gretchen, the whole AI aspect of it. Again, it's only as good as the information that is given.
Yeah.
But if you do provide a certain set of interest points and or demographics, it's amazing what deep learning might be able to do to set you up with people to identify needs you don't even know you have yet. I think that could be very exciting.
Yeah. All wrapped up in privacy, though.
Oh, yes. You got to have privacy, security, as well as access. That's the three legs of the stool that you have to balance on. But
Yeah, and I think people are just super tired of being over marketed to as well. So I think that with all of the technologies that are just coming around, especially with events, because that's the hot topic of the day, is to really help figure out what people need to know, like Tobin said, and meet people where they are, and then bring them to the thing they don't know they need yet, because you have been listening and you have been observing, and say, what about this? This might help extend your experience. Or what are you using in your personal life that may really help you, like these matching things.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a really interesting intersection.
I got to tell you too, is talk about opportunities, Karen. Here's the great opportunity is that, yeah, okay, everybody's looking at the glass as half empty. It's like, oh my gosh, woe betides us because we had so much non-dues revenue from meetings. I say that virtual meetings and digital products can be a new wellspring of non-dues revenue. And it can be repurposed. And again, you're only bound by your creativity.
That is so true. That is so
And I also think this is an opportunity where sponsors and exhibitors sometimes it was a hard connection, especially in the trade show environment, where people are walking down the trade show floor and you're there as a shopper, as an attendee, but you don't want to make eye contact with the exhibitors because you want to learn about something, but you don't want to, it's a weird dynamic, right? And then exhibitors are there to sell to you.
Where's my hook?
It's hard to connect. And so I think with the virtual, with this more personalization, I've heard a lot of industry supported education where that line is blurring. And they're helping offset the cost of registration, some of the logistics, but they can also really target their message and their product to demonstrate something. So again, in certain areas, you got to be really careful to keep those things separate. Like in the medical field, physicians can't learn on a particular device that is tied to a company. But I think that idea of industry supported to the customer is something that will be really powerful.
You're absolutely right, because you can do good and do well at the same time. That's important.
Yeah.
Not for profit does not mean no profit. You got to keep it on.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, these are really, really great points. I'm sure that the viewers have taken a lot of notes, or they're going to be bringing their questions to the session. So, so thank you so much for being willing to share some additional knowledge and really great gems. We appreciate it. Any final thoughts? Any suggestions that you want to give folks who are thinking about how do we brave this new space?
I think people need to practice and challenge themselves to try new things and expect at least half of them not to work as planned. Yeah. But I think this is really good practice for associations to start to really be more adaptive and creative. And you have to plan for, ooh, that didn't work out so well, but look at how interesting this is.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I have one more bromide. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I love that quote. It's one of my favorite quotes.
It's so true. Try it. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fail, but fail with intentionality and learn from it and pick yourself up and move on and before the goodwill evaporates. Now is the time to experiment.
That's right. People think it's win or lose. It is win or learn. That's what it is. If you don't try, you'll never know.
I got one from you.
And the other one is just please keep your members and customers on the journey with you. You know, ask speakers what they need, what problem are they trying to solve, where are they stuck, what's their pain. Because this morning there was a session from Duncan Wardle he used to work at Disney, and he's like, don't get stuck on the solution. Focus on where people get stuck. You know, at Disney, they had a front desk and you got stuck at the front desk. And they're like, well, what can we do? And the Disney bands were developed to alleviate people's pain. It wasn't, we need bands. It was the front desk is a pinch point. So I think that's where we need to learn is where are speakers and presenters having a tough time? Where are members and customers having a tough time? And be creative in that place.
Yep.
Excellent.
Key word here, creative. Be creative.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you for having us. This has been great. And we look forward to the following conversation, folks. So talk up.
That's right. That's right. Gretchen, Tobin, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good afternoon.
Bye-bye.